Mindfulness coach, mindfulness teacher, going live here. It's been a while since I've been on YouTube. For the winter, I decided to go up north and work really hard, work 100 days in a row, make some money. Now that I'm back, able to kind of put that time, that work forward, investment into this channel, into the on-demand library, into working one-on-one with you guys as we continue to grow the effortless Qigong community so that more people have access to the techniques and the resources and ways of clearing stress, cultivating energy, and really working on that mind body fitness. Um, eh, Qigong's an amazing practice. It's an honor to be able to practice it and to teach it, and having access to the internet in the modern world is it's very interesting. So I'm excited to be back, and I've got a bit of time now in between contracts to work on things and to share with you guys. And so that's what I'm about here doing. I've got a new camera, which I'm excited to start working on and using this week to make higher quality videos. And I also got a new drone because I just think capturing nature and sharing that in the videos just really adds to the healing and the direct experience of doing the qigong practices. Right, I think that the setting and the quality of the videos is so important. So I'll be doing that. While I was away, it's interesting to see that the channel continues to get views. People continue to watch. Obviously, the views are down right now. People haven't been subscribing as much because I'm not making new content as much, or haven't been. Um, but I think it'll grow the next couple weeks while I'm going live here and posting videos again. Um, so let's dive in. Let's talk a bit about qigong, spirituality, but also personal development, fitness, and health. These are all, to me, interrelated subjects that are worth diving into, worth exploring and talking about. Hello, people joining live. Hope we're doing well. So yeah, I got into qigong 5 or 6 years ago, and I've been certified for what, like 3, 4 years as a Holden qigong teacher. And I realized very early on that what I wanted to do was share this practice with as many people as I can, because I myself am someone who has struggled with anxiety, stress. I had an ADHD diagnosis as a kid, which meant that focus was challenging, emotional regulation was challenging. And so in my early 20s, I'm 30 now, by the way, I'm still fairly young, but I do see the aging creeping in. Like my hairline, all my hair is turning gray, these sorts of things. Um, but yeah, in my early 20s, I started really taking it seriously that uh, I didn't really understand my emotions. I didn't really understand my consciousness as a human being. And because of that, my relationship suffered, my mental health suffered. And I think we can see that in our society in general that we have a lot of people struggling, right? It's not easy to be a human in 2026, no matter where you are in the world. There's lots of pressures, it's confusing, there's lots of different influences on our minds. And especially in the age of social media, right? It's like we have so many people fighting for our eyeballs, and not all of them, unfortunately, have good intentions. A lot of people will, for example, want to make you angry about something to keep you watching their videos, even if that anger is a constructed story, right? For example, we see that with a lot of influencers, especially with young people, whipping up drama and he said this and they said that and they cheated with that person. So we have all this stuff, right? Taking up our time, taking up our life force. And I'm by no means free of all these things, but I realized in my early 20s that it's important to make that investment into, understanding how my own mind works, my own emotions work. I'm gonna grab a little seat here, guys. Oh, look at this beautiful little stream here. How do I turn this around? Very nice. And take a little sit here by the tree. And so I initially started reading self-help books. about relationships, about mindfulness, about psychology, because I feel like I didn't learn these things growing up. My parents didn't really have the example of these things. Um, and from there, I got into meditation, mindfulness, and that led me to qigong eventually. And my qigong journey has been an interesting one that wasn't as easy and straightforward because the idea of qi or a life force energy wasn't something I easily accepted. And I'd say, okay, it could exist, but I don't know what it is or what it isn't, what's true and what's false about it. I'm clearly alive. I clearly have a metabolism, emotions, thoughts, feelings. There's clearly an energy involved with being human. And we know that there's energies all around us, like gravity, light. The trees around me, you can burn them. They have tons of energy in them. You can release that through fire. Um, and so it became obvious to me that there is some form of energy to work with. Okay. Um, and so I started journaling, reading books, meditating. And my sister had given me this book for my birthday called Embodiment. And it was this book that discussed the practice of doing somatic exercises and embodiment practices. And so these are things like dance, running, exercise, martial arts. And in this book, he shows this big tree of all the different types of exercises and movement practices that exist. And that's the field of embodiment. It's how we use our mind and our body to exercise, right? Um, the type of exercise you do when you run is different than when you dance. It's different than when you lift heavy weights. They're all going to work our bodies in different ways. And where the research of meditation, just sitting and observing your thoughts, has shown to change the shape of our brains, that was very inspiring to me because I realized, wait, if just sitting and breathing and being mindful can actually reprogram your brain to be more relaxed, to be able to think more clearly, more focused, to be less depressed, less reactive, then what if we combined a mindfulness practice with movement, right? And then I kind of had this intuition, and during COVID, I discovered qigong, and that changed my life forever. Initially, I was drawn to it because it was something I was curious to. I was interested in the mindful movements, and qigong is actually a combination of many different movement techniques used to create a result. So it uses stretching, self massage, breathing exercises, mindfulness, and then these nice gentle flows for relaxation. And I realized that there's something here that's beyond just qigong being like a slow dance that some people might say, oh, it's just like a dance. There's just placebo. But we can dive into the placebo effect later on in other videos too. Um, and so for me initially, I had lower back pain, and my goal really was to just start to stretch my lower back to clear stress, and that's really what drew me into the qigong practice. And it was only after like many years of practicing now that I have the direct experience of subjective life force energy that we have as humans, and being able to work with that through qigong practice, applying the techniques, um, and doing it. And it's really changed my life in a big way. I feel like qigong has helped me mature as a human being, to help me clear stress. I know that when I am stressed, I have something to return to. And as a certified teacher who's been sharing this online and in person for years now, seeing people do the practice who don't know any of the theory, right? I might not even mention this idea of life force energy, just doing the practice for 10 to 15 minutes, how they might go from feeling kind of down and gray to then uplifted, oh, and light and relaxed after just 10 or 20 minutes of doing a qigong practice, right? Because we we have these very amazing and complex bodies. Um, and stress isn't something that's just psychological, for example. Fatigue isn't just psychological, it's happening our mind body system. Okay. And so Some of us will sit in the office for years and maybe we go to the gym a couple times a week, but that's not gonna exercise your body in the way a qigong practice will. Because qigong it's gonna stretch, it's gonna massage, it's gonna open things up, it's gonna clear stress, and it's going to help you get rid of stress and cultivate tranquility and peace and joy and these things, which you can get that from other forms of exercise too, right? And you might say, well, why bother do qigong if I can just run and get the runner's high? But what I actually want to suggest to you is that in that context, running is a form of qigong because you are doing your energy work. For example, professional athletes know that we have different energy systems. For example, if you're doing a sprint, you're working a different energy system than if you're running a marathon. And I was a competitive athlete for years, my coaches oftentimes referred to these different energy systems depending on what we were working on that week or in that section of the season. And so, we have a Western view of energy that we use for sports, and we use it for, if I wear an Aura ring, which measures my sleep score, measures my stress, my resilience, and all these things, it's measuring your body's biometrics, and you can only have a biometric if you're alive, if there's energy, metabolism, warmth, all the cellular movements and hormones and all these very complex processes in the body, right? So that's interesting. Um, so for me, yeah. Anyway, I just want to go live again, talk to you guys, say hello, um, and that I'm making new videos, new routines. And what's great about it is that it's springtime. I've got a new camera, a new drone, and I'm looking to push myself to create some really beautiful qigong videos. I still really like the idea of qigong videos being simplistic. It doesn't need to be a movie. I don't need to have like 4 or 5 different angles of myself moving. I think just like a simple 1 or 2 angles is great, right? Um, so that's what I'm going to focus on. And so I'll be over the next couple of weeks making new qigong videos. Uh, And then I also want to stop just doing routines on my channel. And I want to start doing um, videos just talking about Qigong, my own journey as a Qigong teacher, as somebody who practices this practice, and put it in the context that I approach Qigong. Because I'm not a Taoist, I'm not a Buddhist, though I do study Taoism, Buddhism. I really like to study spiritual schools in general as someone who is uh, pretty open minded and open to advanced contemplation. Um, because if you know the history of qigong, you know that uh, it comes from ancient Chinese indigenous practices, and then it was evolved into the Tao and Buddhism. There's a lot of historical evidence that shows that qigong and yoga have a lot of common ancestors as well. Um, and then even practices like meditation and Zen, uh, there is historical evidence that shows like that. Part of the reason you have Zen in some places and you have Qigong in other places, and you have Shaolin Qigong, which is different from yoga, which is different from Western yoga, is that information didn't spread super quickly back then. You couldn't mass produce texts. And so um, people who practice Zen maybe get really highly cultivated on their internal meditative process, but their bodies maybe were more weak and fragile than those who were practicing Qigong, right? And those who practiced Qigong maybe had more energetic awareness, more proprioception, more fitness, they're healthier, but they might not have had that internal cultivation that someone practicing in a Zen monastery would have, for example. So that's interesting. See some people saying hello, hello, how you doing? Um, and I guess that kind of comes back around to what my vision is for effortless qigong, and the type of content or offering I want to provide to people, which is that we have these incredible mind body systems and we have a life force energy. We have the ability to think and to feel. And I believe that mindfulness is a pathway to living a really powerful life. Because through the practice of mindfulness, we can actually get to understand our thoughts, feelings, and emotions in a higher level. We can develop greater compassion. We can meet pain and suffering that comes up in our lives with greater skill and maturity. We can deal with conflicts in a more skillful way. We can have more peace and joy in our lives. We can develop greater relationships. Like the greater we can understand our own minds, how we get triggered sometimes, how our minds might maybe play tricks on us, for example. Um, it makes it a lot easier to deal with other people in work environments because we all know at work you're gonna have to deal with assholes and have conflicts and challenging situations. You make mistakes at work and have to deal with guilt and shame and all these things. Mindfulness is a skill set that's going to help us to meet the challenges of the human experience in a more skillful, objective, conscious, and mature way. And that's why I'm drawn to mindfulness. Now, I'm by no means the most conscious, healthy, loving, perfect person. I'm very flawed. I'm just like anybody else. And that's why I know these practices are important because I've lived it and I've been through ups and downs in life. I've made mistakes in life. I've had challenges in life. We all have. Uh, but for what I've been studying and learning, this practice of self compassion, I think, is universal. I think the universe itself has um, that compassion is central to the point of the universe, which may sound strange given all the challenges we face on Earth. And that I believe that compassion is bottomless and it's infinite. And uh, the rain will fall on anyone regardless of their past or who they are, right? Regardless of who you are, a burger will probably taste good to you, right? The burger doesn't decide not to taste good to you because um, you you made a mistake 10 years ago working somewhere where you stole some paper clips from your boss or something like this, right? The burger's still going to taste good because the universe has this infinite, objective, non-judgmental process that it has. Humans will judge you, and you'll judge yourself, but the universe itself doesn't really care, I think. Um, so yeah, this compassion is it's there, and it's worth cultivating within ourselves with objective mindfulness, right? So what I'm hoping to do this week is work on some qigong routines, and I'm also going to work on some videos just discussing the things I'm learning in my mindfulness teacher certification program that I'm taking through mindfulness exercises. I'm already a certified Holden Qigong teacher, and I personally believe that Holden Qigong is one of the best forms of Qigong for the Western world because it's accessible, it's fun, it involves stretches and movements and breathing exercises, and it feels really good to do. And Lee Holden, I think, is just phenomenal, and I'm so infinitely grateful to have him as my main Qigong teacher. And then for this mindfulness certification process, I want to start to just make some videos about it to reinforce my own learning and hopefully inspire you to also take the mindfulness practice, right? To start on this practice if you haven't already, or maybe to get re-inspired to continue along this process. Because when we can learn to observe our thoughts and emotions objectively, get more space from them, that helps us to see ourselves free of the story we're always telling. We can start to let things go and we can rise to higher levels of maturity and insight to lead life more skillfully, um, to meet pain more skillfully. And what I like about this mindfulness certification program is that they're also incorporating the practice of mindful self compassion, which is so important as well, because it's it's a healthy and realistic self-compassion that helps it with healing, with being more kind to ourselves and others. Because look, all humans are flawed. All humans are going to make mistakes. All humans are going to have parts of themselves they may not like they're going bald, or they feel like they're far behind in life, or they're not wealthy enough, or they're just dealing with so many challenges in life. And maybe you're just not that nice to yourself. Now, here's a final question before I sign off, guys, because I got to go get ready for some one on one sessions with people. Someone asks, is self compassion narcissistic? No, it's not. Self compassion is coming from a position, this recognition that um, as humans, we are fundamentally flawed. Not fundamentally flawed. We have flaws, we'll make mistakes, and that we want to do good. Okay. We want to do things in the correct way. But despite that, we'll make mistakes. We'll have downfalls, shortcomings. Um, Whereas narcissism is believing like I'm the best, I'm number one, I'm going to manipulate other people. Um, it's more of a selfishness. But what's great about self compassion is that oftentimes the self compassion for ourselves actually reflects outward into how we treat others, our communities, our family members. That compassion for yourself oftentimes is going to irradiate out to include others within that compassion, right? Compassion and narcissism are not the same thing. Compassion, especially in terms of mindfulness, is coming from a place of higher elevated consciousness where you're being kind to yourself, right? Because a lot of times in your thought, let's say you make a mistake at work and your boss is like, ooh, that check you wrote, you messed up the numbers. And maybe in the past, you're saying, before you learn self compassion, you're like, I'm such an idiot. What a fuck up. You're so stupid. Like, you're always making mistakes. You might say that to yourself. But if you are compassionate toward yourself and you have practicing mindfulness, you might be like, oh, ah, negative inner dialogue. I'm being mean to myself. That's okay. I'm willing to be here with you through this. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you learn through mistakes. And I know that you're doing really good in your job, but there are some areas that you can tighten up, right? You do need to be more accurate in your job if you want to succeed in this job. I'm not going to beat you up and push you down because of that mistake. I'm going to hold your hand and guide you through it so you can improve and grow as an employee, as a staff member. Self compassion is not ignorance toward your flaws. It's meeting those things with kindness and love, and almost like you would with a child, right? So my ego wants to kiss you so badly. Should I be self compassionate? Uh, yeah, be self compassionate. Self compassion does not mean misusing boundaries or acting immorally and then saying, "Oh, but I'm self-compassionate, so it's okay. I can do whatever I want." There's consequences in life, so that's important. Now someone's driving by here. Okay. So yeah, that's a little bit about that today. Now, off the top of my head, I have a feeling my explanations of self-compassion are not as clear and precise as I would like. Um, but that's why I'm going to be preparing some of these videos. And I also write about these things in my newsletter as well. So thank you so much, guys. Thanks for joining. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for more content coming out, and I'll talk to you soon. Stay well, keep it effortless. Peace.